The Israel-Hamas war has entered its 14th day, and the human cost and the human suffering in Gaza is something that is unprecedented. In fact, today, the humanitarian aid started entering Gaza. In fact, there you can see these visuals, extremely defining in their own way, given the fact that these trucks have started to enter Gaza. And it was after a lot of diplomatic negotiation that you had these trucks finally entering into Gaza, and that, of course, is important. But the larger question is that innocent civilians are being killed, and who actually is responsible for the kind of human cost and human suffering that we are seeing in Gaza. And joining me now, our very special guest, joining us exclusively, is Paola Caridi. She's the author of Hamas and also a founding member of the press agency. She's worked in the Middle East closely, and she knows Hamas also, really well. And there's so much to ask you, Paola. Thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Let me first
a bit low. I hear you a bit low.
Okay, we'll try and get that fixed. But my first question to you would be, Hamas's surprise attack 2 weeks ago was seen as unprecedented, and Israel perhaps was in a sense hoodwinked by Hamas. How do you look at this attack as someone who's really seen Hamas closely, worked on it as well? How do you look at this attack?
Unprecedented. Unbelievable, surprising. It's the massacre, the most tragic and bloody massacre against Israeli most of them civilians, and it's also surprising from Hamas point of view. We didn't expect, as analysts and experts, such an attack, such an incursion inside Israel. And I think also in a way that Hamas operatives, they didn't expect not to meet Israeli soldiers in such a consistent number on the other side, which is really another surprise. The Israeli press talked about a lack of intelligence and the failure of the intelligence, of the Israeli intelligence. Probably they say, and I think they are right, that they moved many soldiers to the West Bank, where the situation is extremely tense. And this is another black hole in the information. As long as we don't inform about what is happening.
Absolutely, and you made a very important point there, Paola, that it was a stunning intelligence failure as far as this attack by Hamas is concerned. But where do you see it going now? Because, of course, Israel's ground incursion seems almost inevitable. What is happening in Gaza is also unprecedented, with innocent civilians being killed on a daily basis. Where do you see it going from here?
I think it's a nightmare and a disaster. Nightmare is the word used by the Secretary General of the United Nations, and I think he is right. And the hostile with which the Arab leaders are convening in Cairo at the Cairo summit signals that there is no time left. Time is important, especially regarding the civilians and their destiny. Civilians are the object, the target, but also the core issue of this war.
Absolutely. The human cost indeed is unprecedented. But very quickly also touching upon the larger geopolitical impact. As somebody who has worked so closely in the Middle East, how do you see this anti-West sentiment in the Arab world? Do you think this war has led to a greater divide at a global stage, at a level that we've not seen perhaps before?
I'm enough older to remember 2001 and especially 2003, in the Middle East and in the Arab region. And I remember the kind of anti-Americanism in Cairo when the Anglo-American troops invaded Kuwait, who attacked and invaded Iraq. And I think this is one of the other chapters of the divide between the West and the Arab world. And I think also that the Western leaders have to work carefully in order to understand which are the risks, the dangers, and also the fears inside the Arab world.
Absolutely, and it's an extremely complex issue, as you say, Paola, also. But my last question to you, we're looking perhaps, at a very dangerous time globally. You have the Ukraine war, the tensions in the Armenia region. What is really the human cost of war? Because war is something that benefits no one.
Yes, it's a sort of risk game on the civilians. If you know the risk game, table game, there are tanks and soldiers on the map. In the contemporary way of waging wars, civilians are those kind of the objects on the map.
Right.
And I think that we are not going anywhere. Also, non-humans are paying the price.
Yes.
Humans and non-humans are paying
Absolutely.
the price, like nature, trees, and so on.
That's a very important point made there. War is something that, as I said, benefits no one. Thanks very much, Paola, for your very important perspective there. A historian, somebody who's worked on, the history of Hamas. Thanks very much, Paola, for joining us.